When your car needs to be serviced, take it where we take our vehicles at WNJC. And that's Murphy's Auto Care, located on Delsey Drive in Washington Township, New Jersey. Murphy's, the home of the $14.99 oil change. That's right, oil changes for only $14.99. Dan's been in business a long time, and boy, can he fix cars, and he can do it at a price that you can afford. It really is where we take our cars here at WNJC. Call Murphy's today at 856-481-4236. That's 856-481-4236. Murphy's is a complete car care center. They can do absolutely anything that your car needs from A to Z. So any problems with your car should immediately be brought to Murphy's. That's what we do here at the radio station. We can take our cars anywhere, but we choose to take them to Murphy's because Murphy's is an honest repair shop. They've been in business a long time, and they really know what they're doing. Their telephone number is 856-481-4236. That's 856-481-4236. Take your car to Murphy's. You won't be sorry.
This is 1360 AM.
WNJC, Washington Township, Philadelphia. Philadelphia's Renaissance radio station. Brought to you from Forsyth Broadcasting. Or listen to us at WNJCradio.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, the smiling coast I know, only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and of course around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And joining me, it's a Tuesday. Great to have him back, Mr. Sam Rohr. Sam, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Rick, it's great to be back with you, and I tell you, I have missed being on the program and being missed with you. I've been gone for several weeks now, Rick. Lots going on, but I'm glad to know that everything is going well. And brother, I tell you, there's nothing short of things to talk about, as always on this program. But I'm glad to be back with you.
It's great to have you back, and Sam, every time I hear that, every time I think about it, it takes me back to that November night, the second Tuesday in November of 2012, when Barack Obama won re-election. And I said to my friends, I said to anybody who would listen, well, this is a terrible night for my country, but a terrific night for the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. We're going to have bukus of stuff to talk about over the next 4 years. And Sam, on both counts, I have been very, very correct.
Well, I know you have, and unfortunately, you know, that's an unfortunate solace position, because we have too much to talk about, and we have someone who is someone who's in a position of leadership in Washington, who is leading us over the edge, Rick Trader, and I'm not quite sure what we're going to see next. I know we're going to be talking with some guests today about some things that have been taking place, but it's literally just when you pass a point where you say, I can't believe what we're dealing with, that we find something that is even more egregious, and by the week almost. And it's just that part is, from a human perspective, rather frightful. It ought to be nothing that waking up everybody that's even half awake, but I still think there's a lot of folks out there, Rick, who just, I don't know, drinking Kool-Aid or what, but they don't get a sense of of the incredible nature and the danger to this republic that we are being subjected to right from the very top.
Well, Sam, let's do this. We got a lot to talk about today. We got a lot of things to go over. We got 3 great guests. I want to talk to you about something that was in cnsnews.com about yourself and the American Pastors Network. But, Sam, let's do this. Let's go over our list of guests today, and then we could get into a few things, all right? Sam, at 3:30, I'm going to be speaking with Amber Barno. She's a senior fellow at the Independent Women's Forum. She's a writer. She's a commentator. Her articles have appeared on all over. Just about every time I turn on the TV, I see Amber someplace or another. She's a military advisor at Concerned Veterans for America, and she's a Washington Fellow at the National Review Institute, retired Army helicopter pilot, quite a young lady. She's going to be joining us to talk about an op-ed she's got coming out on thefederalist.com this week. We need an open-minded reformer at the VA, but don't count on getting one. And this is in the light of General Shinseki resigning as the head of the VA. So we're going to be speaking with Amber Barno at about 3:35.
Well, that's great. And then at 4:05, Rick, we're going to go to J.D. Gordon. Been with us before. People on this program know J.D. But we're going to zero in with him on what is now the new scandal, and that is what we're calling the Taliban swap. It's this prisoner exchange that no matter how you look at it, or let's put it this way, the longer you look at it, the worse it looks. We're going to be talking with him at 4:05, and really who this guy was, who these prisoners are that are actually being swapped out, and what Congress can do, or will they do anything about it? So that'll be at 4:05. Then at 4:35, we'll conclude today with Justin Danhoff. He is the General Counsel for the National Center for Public Policy. We'll be talking about Obamacare. And this time from the standpoint of they're taking a perspective, Rick Crater, that the verdict is in. They're saying that it's just not working. I think we talk about a lot in this program, but I want to talk specifically about why they're saying that. We're going to look at very specific things about measurements, and can we say that it clearly will not work, and then if not, then what? So we're going to talk about that at 4:35. Justin Danhoff will conclude our day today.
All right, and Sam, got an article here from CNSnews.com, our friends at CNSnews.com, and actually the article is about you and the American Pastors Network. And the title of the article was Pastors Asked to Denounce Same-Sex Marriage from the Pulpit. So, Sam, when I saw this, it kind of caught my attention because, in a way, it's a little bit political, but in another way, it has nothing to do other than with family values and the morals of our country and our society. So, can you talk about what went on, Sam Rohrer?
Well, but glad to, Rick. We as folks know, I head up the American Pastors Network and the Pennsylvania Pastors Network. One is a state chapter, and the other is a larger entity that has state chapters increasing across the country. But the goal is to have pastors in the pulpit stand up. They are the ones supposed to be dealing with truth, but stand up, and they need to weigh in. I mean, at the beginning of our country, Rick, it was pastors in the pulpit that spoke the truth. They were the ones who laid down the principles of justice and mercy and talked about private property rights. They're the ones who talked about Second Amendment rights and what it meant, and they were the ones who laid the groundwork for the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, put their names down and say, okay, we're going to now commit our lives, our fortune, our sacred honor. Well, that ties in with this whole issue of what's happening across the country with district judges overturning state laws governing the aspect of marriage. We've been saying that pastors in the pulpit, they've got to stand up and say and preach on the issue of the importance of family as we know it, a man and a woman and children. And you could say, well, and some say, well, that's only church stuff. That's only God business. Let that out. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't make any difference whether you lived in this generation or 2,000 years ago. A family was a family, and nations that had strong families of a father and a mother and children, intact functioning, doing what they should, you had a strong nation. But where you lost your families, you lost your nation. And really, what better way to undercut the legs of the up to this point, the strongest nation in the world, the shining city on a hill, than to cut out the legs and the heart of its family? So, over time, we've stepped in, and through all of the abortion killing, 50 million. I mean, what a way to whack at the family. But then to say, well, it doesn't make any difference what the family looks like. It can be two men, it can be two women, it can be, really, once you open the door to that, Rick Trader, it'll be brother and sister. It'll be who knows what, because you can't shut the door. So we're saying pastors better stand up and defend that most fundamental unit called the family, because if this is not soon strengthened, we'll not have a mechanism by which we have young men prepared, strong enough character to even go into the military. We'll not have people, when they're getting out of school, where we're seeing right now, who have enough work ethic to go out and work. They want to have their hand out to government. Where does this come from? It comes from families. We're saying stand up and preach. And so that was one aspect of what gendered that article there the CNS News picked up on.
Sam, a couple of things really in the article really struck home with me. Pennsylvania U.S. District Judge John E. Jones III, in striking down Pennsylvania's law, said, "We are better than these laws represent, and it is time to discard them into the ash heap of history." Well, Sam, let's talk for a minute about that ash heap of history. Let's talk about the thousands of years of wisdom, teachings, and guidance from God and from the Bible. Is that the ash heap he's talking about, Sam Rohrer?
Well, you know what? We held a press conference in the Capitol on Monday on this issue, which we laid out. And I laid out some very clear about this judge, who I happen to know, by the way. And I said that this judge made an illegitimate ruling in that he attempted to overturn the highest of moral laws. That's God's law, it's moral, and not understanding that every civil law is undergirded by some morality. So if you're going to say we have a law that in fact, will punish or will go after somebody if they steal somebody else's property, the morality underneath that is that it's wrong to steal. Now, if you don't say it's wrong to steal, then you won't either enforce the laws or you won't even make one to begin with. Well, that's how the whole thing about family got around. The recognition of a family came from the standpoint was God's moral law. That was the best way to, and government said, yes, we recognize and agree with it. What Judge John Jones was saying, we don't agree with that anymore. And anybody, in effect...
In whose opinion, Sam? That's what gets me. In whose opinion? In his opinion, and his opinion alone. And one other thing, Sam, because I wanted to get in, because we're right up against the break. We got 30 seconds to take our break. We could pick this up after, Sam. But as I said, it's his opinion alone. And judges in Pennsylvania, Sam, are elected. Is that correct?
Other than those kind are appointed. Other ones are elected. That's correct.
So this guy was appointed.
Yeah, no saying this guy.
This guy was appointed.
That's correct.
Who is he appointed by? Another biased liberal politician like Ed Rendell or Bill Clinton?
Unfortunately, Rick, he was appointed by George Bush.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. All right.
Let's pick this up on the other side,
We
Rick.
will. All right, Sam, we're going to take a break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sam Rohrer and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and, of course, around the world on the Internet via our Internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, VigilantLibertyRadio.us, and don't forget, you can now hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Call using your cell phone. Use up those mobile minutes. Call from any phone where you have free unlimited access, because there's no additional charges for this call. Don't go away. Sam and I will be right back.
They say I'm nasty, but oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, the smiling coast I know, only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sam Rohr and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, that's Eastern Time, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m. this afternoon, when we end our live broadcast, if you would like to hear a replay of yesterday's show with Kevin Wade and J.D. Manier, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com, CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And for a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon, place for that is at VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And don't forget, you can now hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Sam, a couple other things on this article coming from CNS News. It says here, the Pennsylvania Catholic Conference denounced Judge Jones' ruling in a press release stating that, quote, every child has the basic right to a mother and a father united in marriage as family. Sam Rohr, isn't that what this country and our moralities have been based on? And isn't it within the past 40, 50 years when the family has become splintered? I mean, in many segments of society, 50 to 75% of the children born are born out of wedlock. Our prisons are over full. Kids aren't achieving in school. Kids are dropping out of school. Suicide rates are up. Depression rates are up. And then they say, wow, where did we go wrong, Sam Rohr?
Rick, that's the amazing thing about it, because from any objective empirical study, On other fronts, those who try to lobby for more education funding for public schools. We're sitting here close to Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a major area of lots of trouble. But what have they said? I used to serve on the education committee, and I chaired the basic education committee here for Pennsylvania for quite a number of years. We dealt a lot in the whole issue of school and public education. One thing was clear, never reputed by anybody, left or right, Democrat, Republican, they all agreed on this. The one thing, and all the teachers agreed, the one thing that would substantially increase the academic performance and improve the discipline of a child in the classroom was the interaction or the involvement of the family, the parents, and who, more than anybody, a father.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's clear, Rick Trader, that you can't have children without a mother. You can't have children with two fathers, two husbands, two men. You need both. But when you have a family that starts with a mother, and obviously some dad involved there in the process, when that father is with that mother and the children, that, and the involvement there, that is the singular thing. Far better than pouring more money into public education. That is what improves both the discipline and the performance of the child. So all of those kind of things are there. That's all empirically proven. Yet in this area of marriage, this judge and others like him, district justices or district judges across the country, because these are just really understand this part of the fight we're trying to say. Understand what's happening here. You're having district judges, federal district judges that are appointed by presidents. They are political appointees. They're unaccountable to no one. They don't have to answer to the press. They're never subject to a vote. They do their own thing, and they're there for life. These individuals sit across the country, and they act, and I said this yesterday at the press conference, they act as if they think they're God, because they sit back, as this fellow said, and said, we don't care what the founders believe. We don't care what fathers and mothers and families across throughout history believe, what the citizens of this Commonwealth of Pennsylvania believe. All of this, we're better people than this, meaning everybody who believes that there's a father and a mother and children, that's the best construct, that they're inferior. That's what the whole thing. We're better than this, meaning we're better than these laws that recognize a man and a woman and children as the best family. That is the height of arrogance, Rick Trader. And we said that yesterday, is that understand, one man can overturn a legitimate, constitutionally passed law that the General Assembly of any state, this was in this case signed by the governor, passed by overwhelmingly, about 95% of the House and the Senate voted in favor of this bill here in Pennsylvania in 1996. One guy, accountable to nobody, can come in and turn that over and just say that it should be discarded into the ash heap of history. This is tyranny. We say it's judicial tyranny. Somebody needs to speak out about that, and I told the legislature yesterday, and we said in the press conference, this is a part of another discussion we can spend a whole lot more time on, Rick Trader, is if a district judge like this, as they are doing, can step in and overturn a constitutional amendment like in California and so forth, or in this case statute, overturn a law upside down, what law is there that has been passed by that state, past, present, or future, that is any longer sacred? You really have bowed the knee to federal supremacy, who now says to the states, go do what you want to do, but we're the last word on it, and we will overrule anything that you say, even though the federal government has and the judges have no constitutional right to do anything relative to family or marriage. This is real overstep. We're trying to say, Rick, it's a moral issue, but it's a constitutional issue, and people cannot overlook that. It needs to be addressed. We're trying to call attention to that.
Sam, something else, and one other thing in this article from CNSnews.com. Members of the American Family Association of Pennsylvania also created a petition on Tuesday asking Governor Tom Corbett to challenge the ruling. However, Governor Corbett said last week that he would not file an appeal in support of his state's same-sex marriage ban. Wow. Is Tom Corbett up for re-election, Sam Rohr, or what?
Well, we're asking that same question. He is up for re-election. His numbers are not good, and we're saying to Tom Corbett, Tom, really, do you want a base? Do you want a conservative base that you have to have if you're going to win? Do you really want to say to them, we're not even going to fight for the family? Because Tom will say that personally he believes in marriage of one man and one woman, but he's not willing to do much about it. And we say, if that's the case, then you don't really think that much about it. That's a problem, and that's an issue we're trying to deal with as well. And he has about 20 days left to reconsider the appeal and to file it, and we're hoping that pressure can be brought to bear, although at this point it doesn't look like he's going to change, Rick Trader.
Can you say Governor Tom Wolf? God, that makes me sick just to even think that. All right,
see, that's the thing, Rick. And we got to go to a break here real quick and see. This brings it to the political perspective. Some on the Republican side look and say, "Well, Tom Wolf, he is so liberal. He's pro-abortion. He's everything possible." Well, at the end of the day, people just won't vote for him, so they'll reluctantly pull a lever for the current governor. I'm saying, no, it doesn't work that way. You must stand up for truth. Then people will consider pulling the lever, but. They're making some very, very silly decisions, and on the issue of marriage and family, you don't walk away not defending it. You must stand up and defend it.
All right, Sam Rohr, we are going to take a break. And you're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sam Rohr and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, VigilantLibertyRadio.us, and don't forget, please check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com and CCRShow.com. Please don't go away. We'll be right back with our first guest.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sam Rohr and Rick Trader today. Coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. Don't forget, you can hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening at patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. That's 10:10 Eastern Time, that is. And our first guest of the day is Amber Barno. She's a senior fellow at the Independent Women's Forum, a writer, commentator. Her articles have been published in various news sites such as FoxNews.com, The Hill, The Daily Caller, and many others regarding national security, foreign policy, military affairs, politics, women's issues, and also veterans issues. Amber has been featured on TV and radio programs including Fox News, Hannity, Megyn Kelly, Fox and Friends, CNBC, ABC. Amber also served in the U.S. Army as a helicopter pilot for almost 8 years, serving our country in combat during deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. Amber, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Great to have you with us. And Amber, I salute your honor and duty to our country.
Thank you.
Amber, we ask you to join us today to talk about an op-ed that you've got coming out in the Federalist this week sometime, if it's not out already, entitled, "We Need an Open-Minded Reformer at the VA, but Don't Count on Getting One." And Amber, in reading your article, you write, and this is you speaking in first person, "I took the announcement of Shinseki's resignation on Friday as good news for veterans. But that is merely the first of many steps needed to put the VA back on track. The next step is replacing Shinseki with the right, you say man, I'll say person, for the job." But Amber, I take it from reading your article, especially the title, you're not confident that the right person will be named to replace Shinseki.
I don't. I think that it's likely going to be another Obama insider that has had a very successful career in government, and it will be basically a congratulatory move instead of the type of person who needs to go in and get their hands dirty and isn't afraid of a lot of hard work, because that's what's going to take to actually fix some of these critical issues at the VA.
Mm-hmm. Amber, in your article, you made some great recommendations for steps to be made to clean up the VA, and you write, the VA needs a reformer. It needs a visionary who isn't afraid to make some waves while working in the Obama administration, which would be tough probably. I ad-libbed that. Someone who will cut the red tape that is smothering the agency and preventing needed changes. The new secretary must rapidly clean house, especially firing those top-level managers who have long been in their positions and failed in their areas of responsibility. End quote. Heather, who would be on your wish list to take over the VA, and who do you actually see? Any names in particular?
You know, I have not named a specific person to this point.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's someone who has worked for the government, because it is, and that is not easy for me to say, but I think it's someone who has to have an understanding of how you manage a bureaucracy, because it's not an easy task. Just as we've seen with as big as our government has grown, there's red tape across the board, and when your job is to go in and find ways to cut that and downsize it, you have to have some experience in it. And so I think it needs to be someone who has significant leadership experience. I still think that someone who's career military is a good fit. You get crisis leadership experience. You know what it means to complete a mission. And I still think that a lot of people say that Shinseki was military and he knows how to run a chain of command, but maybe not a bureaucracy. That may be true in the case of Shinseki, but I don't think that is I don't think that's the case military-wide as far as candidates go for the position.
Amber, let me throw this idea by you. We have bureaucrats in the VA. The VA has always been run by bureaucrats. This problem at the VA didn't start in the last 5 years. I mean, this goes back to the Bush administration. Barack Obama was told when he came in, his transitional team was warned about the problems in the VA. So, Amber, maybe a bureaucrat isn't the answer. Maybe we need somebody from the business world.
Yes, and the ideal candidate would be someone who has experience in both. It's going to take, like I said, a reformer, someone who isn't going to the position to twiddle their thumbs and write out their 5-year tenure or whatever it might be, that they're going to be left in that cabinet level position. We need someone who is going to fulfill that position to work hard and clean house and to make some changes. Most people, when they get to these cabinet level positions, they sort of just ride out their time. They're not necessarily there to make any waves or to make change. They've been there, done that in terms of succeeding at their career. And that's why I said sometimes when they get appointed to these cabinet level positions, it's more of a thank you for your service. Now you can just write out your time, at the top of this agency or this department. And that's why we cannot have another secretary like that.
Right, Amber, I think you're right. Politicians, you know what they do, Amber? They take care of themselves, their family, and their friends, and the rest of us can go where. But, Amber, also in your article, you write, veterans must be provided with choices. If they are not getting the proper services from their local VA facility, they should be able to go elsewhere, somewhere able to provide care they need. Amber, do you think that, in light of that, maybe the VA has gotten too big? It's gotten to be, again, too much of a bureaucracy, that they can't handle the needs of the veterans? And I like your idea, letting them go to a place of their choice.
Well, I've experienced VA healthcare, and I've also experienced TRICARE, which is active duty military healthcare, as well as standard. So I've experienced TRICARE Prime, TRICARE Standard, and then VA.
Right.
And I am the biggest fan of TRICARE Standard, because what that allows you to do is it's still taxpayer-funded healthcare, but you have freedom of choice. So you get to pick your doctor, you get to pick your procedures when you see the doctor. But the difference is that there's an annual copay, and then there might be a actual visit copay. So I never paid more than probably $25 to see someone. And that, to me, that with choice, I would much rather have that, make those very minimal payments,
right,
rather than be in a system where I can't get an appointment. There's, unethical practices going on, deceit, so far that people are dying as a result of wait lists and people not getting the care that they deserve.
Right. Amber, the fact that the VA has its own facilities and vets can receive care from them. You know, I've spoken to vets, and some of the facilities are very good, and some are very bad. You know, we must be our own advocates. It seems to me, Amber, that the VA facilities might be looked at as just more government layers, another bureaucratic monopoly that's not working. And I agree with you that I think that the veterans should be able to have their choice. If they want to go to a VA facility, fine. If they want to go to a private facility, fine. If they want to see a VA doctor, that's fine. They want to see a private doctor, that's fine. I mean, why not give the veterans, the people that have put it all out there for the country, for our country, let them choose where they feel they can best get care.
I couldn't agree with you more. If we're so concerned with veterans and their safety and their well-being, then why are we not giving them...
Well, I think you are, Amber, and I am, but there's some people down in Washington that don't get that message. Hey, Amber, we got to go into a break. Could you hold for just 2 minutes through the break?
Yep, no problem.
All right, we are going to take a little break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sam Rohr and Rick Trader coming to you live from the CCRS studios. That of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And by the way, today's show is brought to you by the First Amendment, and it is protected by the Second. Please don't go away. We're going to continue our conversation with Amber Barno.
That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sam Rohr and Rick Trader. And our guest this segment is Amber Barno. She's a senior fellow at the Independent Women's Forum. Amber is also a military advisor at Concerned Veterans for America and Washington Fellow at National Review Institute. Amber is on the board of directors at the Independent Fund, an organization that supports wounded veterans. Amber, I'd like to know how many hours are in your day. I mean, you're a very busy lady.
Not enough.
Not enough. Amber, in your article, you write, if the administration is serious about wanting to improve health care for veterans, they'll look beyond the politics of the health care issue and appoint a reform to do whatever is necessary to turn the VA around. And Amber, I would argue that this administration doesn't care about improving health care. It's only interested in pushing its liberal, socialist, radical agenda, and that it really doesn't care who it hurts, even if it hurts our veterans. And I would like to point out all the pitfalls that the veterans have gone through, and also the pitfalls that Americans are going through as they're unraveling Obamacare.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the reasons that the Obama administration has refused to accept some of the failures that are going on at the VA, because the VA is sort of a prototype for Obamacare, and we see all the failures that are going on. You know, all veterans that qualify for VA health care might actually have health care, or have coverage, but that doesn't mean that they're all getting care. There's a big difference there, and I think I think because of what has happened at the VA, Americans might start realizing that, hey, government-run health care is not the way to go.
Okay, here on the Conservative Commandos Radio show, we're talking with Amber Barno. And Amber, on the other line, I do have my co-host, Sam Rohr, and I know Sam wants to get into this conversation.
Amber, good to have you on with us today, and thanks for all the work that you do. Rick's already been talking about some of this, but, end of the day, I mean, the focus now is on, let's do that back up. Whenever there's an issue in government, the easiest thing to do is get somebody to resign, and then you kind of breeze over, and it looks like you've fixed the problem. The assumption is that new leadership will work. But I'm wanting to ask you just more directly here. How much do you think of what actually has come forward here, with all the revelation of what's been happening over really a space of years, is the result of inept leadership versus really in attitude toward the vets generally, and I'll put into that as well, that you're just commenting on it, is perhaps just not a natural outworking of this whole concept of a failed government approach to trying to administer health care. I mean, it's just another leader, a new administrator going to fix the problem. I tend to think it's a lot deeper than that, but I would like to know what you think.
Well, I think it's a mixture of a couple of things that you mentioned. It definitely is a leadership failure. You cannot tell me, as the leader of a department for over 5 years, that you were unaware of some of the malpractice and unethical management and decisions that were being made in terms of the downright deceit that resulted in the death of over 40 people, as we found out in Phoenix. That means you were turning a blind eye to some of the issues that were going on, or if you were really that naive to the failures after the hundreds of IG reports that come out every year from your own department. If you're either that naive or willing to turn a blind eye, then you're failing at leadership and therefore failing at the job.
Well, I know that I was in the Pennsylvania House for years. I would deal with veterans, and there have always been complaints. I don't think always, but for a long time, even before this president came into office, there were complaints about inefficiencies within the VA. So I think that would tend to substantiate a little bit of what you're talking about. But on the other hand, it seems that they have this whole thing is radically increased.
Yeah, and this didn't happen overnight. It is a systemic issue, and it has continually gotten worse. But when, Shinseiki set certain deadlines for himself that he was unable to meet in terms of the backlog, and also it comes down to, even just recently, I was looking at some of the VA backlog numbers, which no one has been talking about because of all the other scandals that's going on in the VA right now. But it is very much, how do you trust those numbers? When a system who games the system the way that they have, how do you trust the numbers that have come out that are VA numbers in terms of this many people are waiting for their claims backlogs? I mean, if they're so willing to allow people to die on their watch, I'm sure they're willing to fudge a few more numbers to make it seem like the backlog is being reduced, which did happen under Shinseki's law.
Amber, I think you really hit an excellent point there, because that is the case. I mean, this administration has been marked with the manipulation of numbers on the economic side, on the employment side, on interest rate side, on really everything that's had a number associated to it. They have not been telling the truth. So I think your suspicion is totally correct. Whatever the numbers are, take and add another zero to it, and we probably get closer to reality. So again, it just underscores the critical nature of what we're talking about here. But do you think? I guess we're getting closer on time, I know, but what is the likelihood that you think, out of what has happened here so far, that there is going to be an actual, honest attempt to improve the circumstance, or do you think that this revelation here with the VA is going to just kind of come up and then just kind of disappear and sit here 6 months from now without a whole lot of change? What do you actually predict?
I think that in order for change to happen, the VA Management Accountability Act of 2014 needs to happen, because then no matter who the secretary becomes, they will have the power to remove and replace the top-level executives that are running the sections within the VA and are failing. They'll be able to replace those, which right now it's virtually impossible to get rid of those basically failing employees. But also I think that the Obama administration is definitely waiting for this to blow over in the media, and then in the future only focus on the positive things with the VA, just as we saw Shinseki trying to do with his testimony. Every single question that went his way, he dodged and talked about statistics about how veterans love VA healthcare and they're getting all the services they need. And I think we're going to see more of that in the future. I think the Obama administration is going to continue to say that, look, Shinseki stepped down, now the VA is going to be perfect. And that's far from the truth. There's still a lot of work to be done.
Do you think, and then I'll go back to Rick Crater here in just a minute, do you think that the Democrat outrage on the parts of some is real enough to have an actual law with some teeth on it in regard to this? Because I think you're right. Without having something in law that puts a little bit more teeth regardless of administration, you're not going to see much of a change. But do you sense that that's going to be real enough to pass it? What's your experience on that?
I think for the majority of Democrats that have stepped up to support the VA Management Accountability Act, I think absolutely they're outraged over this. This is a nonpartisan issue. It should be, and I'm happy to see the Democrats who are keeping it that way, but there are still, a handful of Democrats that refuse to acknowledge the failures at the VA and say Shinseki's done a great job and the VA government-run healthcare is this amazing place. When I sat at the hearing, I watched Bernie Sanders completely give Shinseki a free pass and congratulate him at all of his success at the VA. So that was extremely disappointing, but somewhat expected.
Well, Amber, I think you're correct the way you end your article, quoting you. This appointment will tell us a bit about if Barack Obama cares more about his self-image and the politics surrounding his legacy, or the veterans who have served this nation honorably and only now want a safe VA that has their best health and welfare in mind. And you say, I'm not holding my breath for a positive outcome. And I have the feeling that a lot of other veterans who have experienced the VA healthcare system aren't either. Well, Amber, I agree and I can appreciate your honesty, and that I also am concerned about the healthcare of the veterans and the outcome in choosing a new secretary.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Amber, where can our listeners continue to follow you and your writings?
You can find me at amberbarno.com, AMBERBARNO.com. IWFNO.com, or you can find me at IWF.org, Independent Women's Forum.
All right. Amber Barno, I want to thank you so much for joining us today here on the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Take care. God bless. Well, Sam, if we can't take care of our veterans, that says a lot for this country.
You're right, Rick. You're right. It ought to be the kind of thing when these guys come back, we give them whatever they need when so many of them are in such great need, and it is an indication of our attitude, which is what I was trying to ask her, how much is truly ineptness or how much of it is an attitude that comes out of this administration. Says, we really at the end of the day don't really value a whole lot what these guys do. Your attitude makes a big difference on administration and policy, Rick Trader.
I think up to now, Sam, that's what has made the United States different from any other country in the world, how we take care of our military, how no man or woman is left behind, how we have such reverence for our military and for our fallen heroes. And my God, it's all gone to pot, Sam Rohrer.
Well, we can identify it. Again, back to this, Rick Trader, there's a consequence to the quality of the people who are elected to office. Simple as that. We're seeing it.
Yeah, elections have their consequences, don't they? Hey, Sam, we're going to take a break. And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sam Rohrer and Rick Trader coming to you live from the CCRS studios out of WNJC 1360 Flagship Station in Philadelphia. The way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, VigilantLibertyRadio.us, and don't forget you can now hear our show anytime, day or night by calling 822-999-1199. Hey, please don't go away. On the other side, we're going to have our good friend J.D. Gordon join us.
They say I'm nasty, but What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sam Word and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station here in Philadelphia. And Sam Word, we do have our next guest with us, and the honor of that introduction is yours, so please take it away.
Hey, well, sure, we'll do that, Rick Trader. Yeah, we have J.D. Gordon back with us. He is not a stranger to this audience, that's for sure. But again, a brief introduction, former Defense Department spokesman of the Western Hemisphere. He worked for the Secretary of Defense there, and he's our go-to person relative to foreign policy and national security issues across the country and the nation. And J.D., it is great to have you back with us again today. I know that you have an abbreviated time, have to leave early, so we're going to get right into this today. But again, thanks, and it's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Rick. Always a pleasure.
We're going to get right into it here, J.D., because, you know, here we are, once again in the middle of another Obama scandal. You know, I was telling Rick earlier when he started the program, it seems that just when we are working ourselves through what has been the worst scandal to date in history of the country, almost, it seems like, that it's only to be surpassed by another one. This administration, now with this issue of the Taliban swap, as some are referring to it, has shoved Benghazi into the past. I think it's shoving the VA scandal off the page, and I don't know what else they're trying to cover up with it. But before we get into the substance of what the Taliban swap actually is, do you think that there's any significance to the coincidence of the timing of the release of this? This they could have done at any time, I suppose, but this administration seems to choose carefully when they do things. Is there anything relative to the timing of this that makes you wonder?
Yeah, Sam, I think that they were trying to wipe the VA scandal off the front page. They did, but they got a bigger scandal. In my view, that this is just as big as Benghazi, because we have a deceit of the American people. I think this is one of the biggest cons of the American people that I've seen, frankly, in any time in recent memory. What happened is the president released a deserter, a guy who was anti-American, a guy who emailed his parents saying America is disgusting, that he was embarrassed to be an American. He mailed home his uniforms. He mailed home his books, and days later he disappeared off post. And everybody that was stationed with him in Afghanistan knew he was a deserter. The Pentagon knew it in 2010. It's why they didn't launch a rescue mission. So President Obama released this guy who was anti-American, who was a deserter, in exchange for the Taliban's top 5 leaders that were in custody. We're talking about the Deputy Minister of Intelligence, the Deputy Minister of Defense, 2 governors, a provincial security chief. These guys were collectively responsible for killing thousands of people, including our forces in Afghanistan. The president just lets them go for this deserter. That's just as bad as Benghazi, if not worse. And then the president tries to say, hey, it's a good news story. I'm going to leave no soldier behind. He tries to wrap himself in the American flag and this faux patriotism. I'm not buying it. And the American people should not buy it either. He's got to be held accountable.
And I think I think this is really, as you say, alarmed a lot of people. Now, I look at this for a bit of comparison, perhaps linkage to the VA. You're saying, it's very likely, and I think you're right, trying to take the VA issue off the page. But on the other hand, I could almost make a case that this was intended, the VA issue was intended to be a long-term hurt to the best of our guys, those who are in the military. But this one here is also a stick in the eye of our patriotic members of our military who are over there risking their lives all the time, because here it is. We're not taking care of the ones. We're actually harming the ones who have had harm done to their physical bodies by not treating them right with the VA. But here we're sticking it in the eye of everybody who's in uniform, who is doing a good job, because they let loose a guy who's has been a deserter. I mean, to me, it's almost like strike two. To me, it's a message to the military that we're not with you, but we're against you.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right, Sam. I talked to a lot of folks in the military, and the reaction in Afghanistan is pretty horrific, basically, from the troops. The troops are very upset because they realize there's a bullseye on their back right now. Al-Qaeda and the Taliban are going to be looking to capture them because they see what they can get out of President Obama. Imagine there's a deserter, and the deserter basically causes 5 of the Taliban's top leaders to be freed. Imagine what they can do if they get a hero, a guy who's a decorated war hero. Imagine if they can capture one of those guys on the battlefield, or even snatch him out of a restaurant somewhere, say in Peshawar, wherever they happen to be, Pakistan, or wherever they are. So it sends a terrible message, and I think the reaction in Afghanistan is not surprising. When the president comes on TV, people want to turn the TV off, literally, or not work at it or throw fruit at it. Literally, that's happening now in Afghanistan, and it bases around the world with the military. And I can't blame them, because 6 soldiers died looking for this Sergeant Bobergal, who was a private first class, by the way. He was promoted twice as a POW, allegedly POW, but it's just terrible. He should not have POW status because he's going to be entitled to all sorts of benefits for the rest of his life. So the Congress really has to pressure President Obama. They must hold hearings. The president broke the law by not telling the Congress he was going to do this detainee transfer to mitigate their threat. And I think that the American people must hold Barack Obama accountable for his actions.
Okay, I'm going to go back on a couple of these things you mentioned, Jada, because each of these need to be borne out just a little bit more. We've already kind of touched on the fact that this guy, this Bergdahl individual, is not the kind of guy that you would rise to the occasion that you would make a 5-for-1 swap. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we've made prisoner swaps in the past. That has happened. But here's a 5-to-1. It would lead the logical person to think that this individual was a general. He was the president himself, perhaps, who had been that we're negotiating with. But this is not the case. This is a guy who, in every regard, not upheld, not viewed well by his cohorts, his fellow servicemen, but other things as well. But let's go to these guys again. These 5 who were released. You already mentioned a little bit about some of who they are. They were high-profile folks, but how precise? I mean, how influential were they? And is it logical? Because I just looked here, and it appears that the country, Qatar, I guess, that was negotiating with him, have already said they're going to allow them to have unrestricted mobility across their country, which means these guys are going to go back and do whatever it was they were doing before. Tell us, what were they doing before, and what is it likely they will do again?
Well, they were leading the Taliban, and the Taliban has repressed tens of millions of people. They've basically stoned women and girls that try to get an education. Remember the girl Malala, who was shot in the head by the Pakistani Taliban because she wanted an education. So I think that President Obama talks a lot about human rights. Well, what about the human rights for all the women and girls in Pakistan and Afghanistan that the Taliban are going to torture, essentially, keep oppressing? Basically, he sent a signal to them that he could really care less about what happens to them, because that's what he's done. And nearly 1/3 of the detainees who left Guantanamo already are confirmed or suspected to have returned to terrorism. And these are the top 5 leaders of the Taliban. Of course these guys are going to return to terrorism. So the question is, how many more Americans are going to have to die because of this decision? And I'm afraid that number could be quite high, because when he leaves Afghanistan in 2016, Al-Qaeda is going to be right back there. The Taliban is going to be right back there. He just let their top 5 leaders go. Mullah Omar, the leader of the Taliban, says this is a great victory. He's right. This was a big victory for the Taliban, a big defeat for the United States, and I hate to say it, I think the president has done it intentionally. I don't think he could be that naive to do it and not know what he was doing.
Well, see, J.D. Gordon, folks are listening. We're talking to J.D. Gordon today on this whole Taliban swap issue, but J.D., what you're saying there is extraordinary. Here it is. We have been in Afghanistan, fighting a war that many would say, what are we fighting for, number one? Number two, a promise some time ago that we're just going to leave, which means we telegraphed them all that we're going to go, and so just save your Taliban folks, just save your time, because you're going to pretty soon, we're going to give it back to you. But then, not only that, we give them back the leadership that we have been holding for some time. It's literally as if, to me, it's a message almost to the world, to our military, that this whole thing was a waste of time, which is a dreadful thing to communicate to the folks who have lost lives and had harm done to themselves. I mean, this, as you say, I can't believe that this is in fact accidental.
Yeah, I don't think it's accidental. I think it's a big dishonor too for everyone that served in Afghanistan. I feel terrible for the people that died in Afghanistan, U.S. troops, Canadian troops, NATO troops that gave their lives so that we wouldn't have another 9/11 attack. But guess what? After we just pull out of Afghanistan, like I said, the Taliban's going to be right back, Al-Qaeda's going to be right back, and it's going to be easier for them because President Obama let their top 5 guys out for the Taliban for a deserter, of all people. You know, I wouldn't have a problem if Bo Bergdahl got traded for a Taliban foot soldier in Afghanistan. If they captured a local guy, I'd have no problem with that one-on-one exchange for a foot soldier. But you don't trade your top leaders that you have in detention that are your enemies, we're still at war with the Taliban, for a guy who is a deserter. It's just a slap in the face for the whole country, and this is a betrayal to the American people. That's the only way to put it.
And J.D., you also talked again, I want to bring up the issue here again of the president breaking law. Going into a little bit more detail on the fact of what it was that he was supposed to have done, and how significant is the breaking of the law by our commander-in-chief and the ramifications of that, because that's a heavy charge. That is a big deal to say the commander-in-chief has intentionally broken the law.
Well, yeah, the president and the White House, they've already admitted they broke the law. Basically, the law is that before any detainee transfers are done from Guantanamo, the president is required to notify the Congress 30 days prior to evaluate the threat mitigation measures. That wasn't done. The Congress received 0 notification, which is a flagrant violation of the law. The White House said, well, it was unique circumstances. And then later on, Secretary Hagel said, well, his life was in danger. That's why we had to do it. But I don't believe that for one second. Why would Bo Bergdahl's life be in any more danger now than the last 5 years that he's been in custody of the Taliban? Why now? And another 30 days wouldn't make a difference after he's already been in detention for 5 years? And then Susan Rice calls his service on the Sunday show that he had honored and dedicated service. I mean, come on. These are the people that told Americans that Benghazi happened because of the video. And they're continually, basically, deceiving the American people. It's like the biggest con ever put on a people by its leader that I can ever imagine. And I'm saddened and frankly sickened that it's this commander-in-chief and it's our country that this is happening to.
Absolutely, J.D. Gordon, and Rick Trader is on there too. Rick, I know you've got some questions. You're salivating to get into the discussion here because it's something that I know goes to the heart of aggravating you and making us all angry.
Yeah, you know, Sam, J.D., you got about 3 hours. You know, J.D., I wanted to get your reaction. Hillary Rodham Clinton on Monday gave a measure of defense of the Obama administration's controversial decision to swap 5 Gitmo detainees for U.S. soldier held hostage in Afghanistan, noting many American allies have made similar deals. When asked about the exchange, this is what cracks me up, Sam and J.D. When asked about the exchange, Clinton said she did not want to second-guess people who make such tough decisions. J.D., what's your reaction to that one?
Well, I think she's just trying to make sure she can be the president in 2016, and so she doesn't want to alienate the base or, you know, have any kind of divisions between her and people that support what Barack Obama's doing. I think this was a big victory, not just for the Taliban, but for the the international left. I mean, it's the strangest things in the world that the international left actually supports the Taliban. They think Al-Qaeda and the Taliban are the victims at Guantanamo, even though the Taliban would kill them all in a second if they could. I mean, it's just one of the strangest political alliances in the world. But this was a victory for the international left. President Obama and Secretary Clinton have viewed the Gitmo detainees as the victims, even though the Gitmo detainees killed thousands of people around the world, including the 9/11 key plotters. And it's just wrong on so many levels. But I think that Hillary Clinton's just trying to do the smart political thing by not alienating the base.
But when she says that you shouldn't second-guess people who make such tough decisions, what did she do to George Bush for 8 years? I mean,
yeah, it's political. You know, she's just trying to cover Barack Obama's base and don't want to alienate him because she thinks she's gonna need him in her corner. So this is a very tough issue. It is a scandal. So she's just trying to be very careful. It's shameful that she's not honest, but that's just how she is apparently.
You know, JD, it seems apparent that this guy Bergdahl actually deserted. His fellow soldiers said he acted strange, telling people he wanted to walk the earth. He kept a journal talking about he was meant for better things. He took off. He left his weapon, his kit, and other sensitive items. JD, what did they used to do with deserters during the Revolutionary War, the First World War, and the Second World War? I think they put them in front of a firing squad, not exchange them. This is like exchanging a private for 5 generals, JD.
Times have changed. You're absolutely right, Rick. That was the punishment for that.
Yep.
Hanging. Times have changed. And now this guy gets looked at as a hero by President Obama, essentially, because that's what he did by having this guy's parents at the Rose Garden. And Bo Bergdahl's father was speaking in Pashto, praising Allah, saying that his son is having trouble speaking English. I mean, excuse me, his son lived in the United States for 23 years, born and raised in Idaho, and he has trouble speaking English now? Seriously? So I think that this is more in the president's judgment and how the president basically makes terrible decisions when it comes to national security and foreign policy. We always have delusional people. There are delusional people from time to time in the military, like Bo Bergdahl, like Bo Bergdahl's parents. They're delusional, of course, but it's harder to blame them. It's a lot easier and makes more sense to blame Obama because he's the one who had him at the Rose Garden. He's the one that let these Taliban top leaders go for Bo Bergdahl. So Bergdahl is delusional. He has mental problems, obviously. But this all comes back to the president. The president ought to know better. And this is a big scandal, just as big as Benghazi in my view. There's a deliberate deceit and a conning of America, and Americans should not stand for it.
And what we also must remember, 6 soldiers were killed trying to find this guy. That's incredible. Hey, JD, I know you got to run. You got another hot date. Would you like to tell our audience where you're heading off to?
Sure. I'm heading to ABC Studios in Washington. I'll be on Nightline tonight, so check it out, tonight's ABC Nightline. And on Friday, I'll be on Hannity. There'll be a special edition of Hannity. So Friday, 10 p.m., please check that out as well.
J.D. Gordon, we want to thank you for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Always appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate the opportunity as well. Thanks.
Yeah,
bye-bye.
Take care. God bless. And we're going to take a break right now. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sam Rohr and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m. when we end our live broadcast, if you'd like to hear yesterday's show at 5 p.m. Eastern, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. Don't go away. Sam and I'll be right back.
They say I'm nasty, but oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sam Rohr and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon, you could log on to vigilantlibertyradio.us, and that's where we'll be. And you can now hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Sam, when I heard the news of this break about the release of the 5 Taliban generals, I'll call them, I knew I wanted to say something about it on today's show. But then, Sam, a lot of times when you want to say something, you hear somebody else say exactly what you wanted to say. You know what I mean, Sam?
I do know what you mean.
And yesterday on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our good friend and co-host, Kevin Wade, did about a 3-minute commentary on the release, which, in my opinion, was right on and was exactly what I would have liked to have said. So I'd like to replay this, and this is from yesterday's show, Kevin Wade's view on the release of the 5 Taliban generals.
I'd like to talk about hostage-taking rewarded is hostage-taking repeated. Over the weekend, the White House announced the release of U.S. soldier Sergeant Bergdahl. He disappeared from his post in Afghanistan nearly 4 years ago. We are glad to see any American return to his family. They have waited for a long time and anxiously for their son's return. His release is as a result of President Obama releasing 5 of the most dangerous terrorists in the world. America's long-standing and sound policy of not negotiating with terrorists was overturned. Negotiations for release of any American hostage is forbidden by law, a difficult but necessary law. Once hostage-taking is rewarded, it is repeated. Be sure of that. In a world so very hazardous today for Americans, the hazards have increased with the president's actions. As the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and their many affiliates understand the ease with which they can direct American actions and even American policies, quickly it becomes open season on Americans around the world. There are Americans working, studying, traveling, and living around the world. Men, women, students, and small children now become hostage targets and negotiating chips for any Islamist terror group seeking to make a name for itself. If the Taliban's stature increased because of their success with Sergeant Bergdahl, think of their prospects for success and stature with the capture of a group of American students or an American family with small children. Remember, these are terrorists. They make videos of beheadings. They circulate these images around the world to inspire their twisted and evil supporters and to cow their opponents. These are the people, Mr. President, with whom you negotiate. They know no bounds. They derive their power from the ability to terrorize the innocent people of the civilized world. No cruelty is beyond their moral code or table of values. We all remember the horrific tragedy of Beslan in Russia, where Islamic terrorists seized an elementary school and began killing the children. Hundreds died in there. We as Americans must do nothing to ever allow Islamist thugs to think hostage-taking serves their purposes. Though Sergeant Bergdahl is now home in the hands of American authorities, we need to realize that American lives, innocent lives, are now at greater risk. 5 of the most dangerous terrorists in the world have been released by President Obama. At the same time, the brutal tactic of hostage-taking has been released. The story is not finished. The saddest and most egregious episodes have only begun. May the good Lord protect the innocents, for President Obama won't.
All right, Sam, and there you have it. That was Kevin Wade. You can't exchange terrorist, Sam Rohrer. This was a terrible precedent. This puts every American at risk.
I think that the point Kevin raised, is right on the money, Rick. I had not considered that part. Actually, JD didn't bring that up as an issue either. But this commentary is right on the money. We've seen in the past the attempt to do that under George Bush and others. They would not negotiate. Reagan would not negotiate. I mean, he's correct. This will, almost assuredly, you will see more hostage taking. And because this was easy. What did they have to do? Wait a couple of years? That's all. There are far greater targets that could be taken as hostages than this individual that we didn't really need. I'm not saying we didn't need to have back, but you know what I'm saying. That was the trade-off was not worth something. There are a lot of folks traveling who could be very, very subject to hostage taking. I mean, let's look at it. We've got a fella in jail over in Iran that they've taken, the pastor over there, and this president and his administration does nothing for them at all. It's that we don't care about some hostages. Some we will. I mean, there was a lot of messaging, as JD talked about. There were a lot of messages sent to the military, messages sent to the people on the ground over there in Afghanistan who resisted, sided with us and resisted the Taliban and who paid a heavy penalty. There was a message sent to them by what the president said. There was a message sent to all of our allies around the world. Even Benjamin Netanyahu made a comment, I think, about this. I mean, people around the world are looking and saying, what in the world does this mean?
Hey, Sam, we're up against the break. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sam Rohrer and Rick Trader. Please don't go away. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Justin Danoff from the National Center of Public Policy Research.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And welcome back. This is Sam Rohr and Rick Trader on the Conservative Commando Radio Show this Tuesday, the first Tuesday of June. We're not don't move that fast. But we are glad to have with us our last guest for this time today. His name's Justin Danhoff. He is the General Counsel for the National Center for Public Policy Research, as well as the Director of the Center's Free Enterprise Project. And prior to joining the National Center, he worked in the Miami-Dade State Attorney General's Office on the Economic Crimes and Cyber Crimes Division. So he has been around. So, Justin, we're glad to have you back with us today on the Conservative Commander Radio Show.
Well, thanks. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, it's always good to have you on here with us. And you are an expert on a lot of issues, but today we're going to talk with you about health care. We've talked about the Taliban swap just a little before you. We've been around the world, it seems, but we're going to come back home here now and talk about the issue of health care. And specifically an article you just wrote that highlights the fact that health care professionals across this country are increasingly having to admit that Obamacare isn't working too well. Of course, you and I and all on this program know that. We talk a lot about it, and we know intrinsically and historically government health care doesn't work well, never has, and never will. But you in the article made a statement that the verdict, quote, the verdict is in, end quote, more or less. Now tell me a little about the developing verdict, and we'll take it one at a time if you don't mind. And now I'll start with this first question, if you don't mind. Has the Obama administration achieved any of its critical performance goals to date? Let's just start there.
Well, I don't want to speak for the Obama administration, but I don't think that I think you can measure the success of Obamacare by the amount that the administration is out there touting the great success of Obamacare, right? I don't see I don't see Jay Carney every day getting up to his podium and declaring a victory for the American people. There was a short burst once they got the website kind of working, where you saw a few of the progressives out there, a few in the administration out there really promoting the law. But I think there's been a big silence on that side lately. And I think it's because when the American people are suffering, and they're suffering because of a program put in place by you and the folks around you, it's really kind of hard to drive home that you think this is a success story when people are losing their insurance, when they're losing their doctor, even if you still like the idea of Obamacare, right? We don't have an idea anymore. It's beyond the idea stage. So the progressive elites who thought they had this great model, we now have the reality of Obamacare. And the reality is harming a lot of Americans, health-wise, pocketbook-wise, emotionally, on lots of different levels. It's creating harm. It's wreaking havoc across the free market in the United States. And I think that it would be callous to try and claim a victory while there's so much suffering at the hands of, and really, it's part and parcel of, the progressive elites, where they think, they create, but then when it comes to implementation, we saw what happened. They couldn't even make a website. And when it comes to recognizing the reality on the ground, I think there's a big disconnect there as well. Go ahead, Justin. I'm sorry. Well, let's just not forget that it wasn't just the Obama administration, right? It was corporate America that helped bring this to the American public as well, and those are the folks who I try and also hold accountable. Well, I think that's a very, very, very good summary. I mean, you are correct. I mean, a lot of what you just said was more of an empirical, objective type of an evaluation, saying just look around. Who's jumping up and down and saying, "Hey, this is fantastic"? You can't find them. So it's a little tough to try and convince people that what's happening to them is good for them. But there have been a lot of scandals too. There have been a number of things that have come out of this that have, even in addition to performance. Give an example or two of perhaps a scandal or whatever that's occurred that we just shouldn't forget. Well, the one thing that I've really been working on this year, and my colleague at the National Center, David Hochberg's been instrumental in this as well, is the fact that this law was lobbied for and worked on in large part by the health insurance industry itself. And so a lot of folks hear the term, but they don't know how it happened. There is a health insurance bailout written in as part of the Obamacare law. So Humana, they're a very large health insurer. This is just one example. They make it a taxpayer bailout in 1 year under Obamacare of $450 million. $450 billion. $million. Oh, $1 million. Okay, has this happened already, or will this? Well, no. So let me explain it. That's the outcome. Let me explain how we got there. Okay. So in the Obamacare law, there's lots of reinsurance type provisions, and there's one provision called the risk corridor. And what this was, it was set up for those health insurers that are going to go on the Obamacare exchanges. And it's built in that health insurers that do well on the exchanges would help fund those health insurers to a small degree who aren't doing so well. But the thing is, there's a built-in gap lag, and guess who makes up that gap if there's a gap? The taxpayers do. And so there's certain projections out there. So nobody's taken the money yet because we have to get to the end of the year and see who the winners and losers are. But the problem is, as these companies are reporting on the Obamacare exchange pools, that is, those who are entering the exchange, it looks like almost everybody's going to be a loser. And so what happened was just a few weeks ago in late May, the Obama administration quietly made this bailout provision even bigger. The LA Times is saying this could reach the billions of dollars annually that taxpayers are going to have to write a check directly to the largest health insurance companies in this country because...
Yeah, see, I was just going to ask you that question there. The $400 million number you gave at the beginning has, based on the fact you're saying they're all going to be losers, are going to have to be
and that's
bigger.
just one company.
Right, and so you're talking here, what, under this current law, that could continue when we get to the end of the year, the losers will be determined, that you could have 10 that are going to be picked up by the taxpayer, and if that happens, does that happen again the next year? How long does this happen?
Right, so that's why, that's kind of why we're out in the forefront of this, because in Obamacare itself, there's a sunset provision. It's only supposed to happen for 3 years out once the exchanges start, right? And so we've gone to the largest health insurance companies in this country, to their shareholder meetings so far this year. So we've been to Aetna, United Health, Humana, and WellPoint. And we've asked all their CEOs one very simple question to get them on the record this year. We said, look, you guys all lobbied for this law. The American people didn't lobby for this law. Big corporation and elite liberal politicians foisted this law on the American people who never wanted it. No poll showed that we wanted this law. Now, are you going to, at the end of the year when all the accounting is done, if it turns out that you qualify for a taxpayer bailout, will you stand on your 2 feet and reject the bailout? Because, of course, bailouts aren't a right or left issue, right? The American public hates bailouts. Left, right, center, everybody hates bailouts. Look at what Ford did when it refused to take a bailout. Its reputation increased, right? When all the other auto industries were getting bailout, Ford stood and said, we can do without it. We don't want to take that money from the American people. And their reputation got a great boost out of that. So that's actually what we've been explaining to these corporations is, look, everyone hates a bailout. You guys quietly snuck it into the law. Not a lot of people noticed it beforehand as it was being written. But guess what? At the end of the year, when the taxpayers are writing checks over $1 billion to large health insurance companies, while at the same time their individual health insurance premiums are skyrocketing, there's going to be a lot of flack sent the health insurers' way. And guess what?
Justin, I'm going to jump in on you because we're going to have to go. That's a great place to leave it at this point. When billions are being spent by the taxpayers and the taxpayers are getting it in the pocket, what's going to happen then? I want to come back on the other side. Stay with us if you could through the break, and we'll come back and pick up on that. Folks, you're listening to the Conservative Commander Radio Show, and our guest right now is Justin Danhoff, General Counsel for the National Center for Public Policy. You're with Rick Trader and Sam Rohr. Stay back and stay with them. We'll be right back after this break.
Everybody's talking all this stuff about me now. Just let me live. Permission, make my own decisions. That's my prerogative. They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night at Concord Bridge in Trenton. For freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And this is Sam Rohr, and with Rick Trader today on the Conservative Commando Radio Show. Our guest here is Justin Danhoff, General Counsel for the National Center for Public Policy Research, and we are talking about the verdict being in from the standpoint of Obamacare just simply not working. Now, Justin, one of your claims to fame is that you get around to share some of those that are involved in the healthcare industry, some of those we just talked about on the other side of the break, that may profit you're saying numbers up to $1 billion perhaps or more at the end of the year, that the taxpayers are going to be used to bail out. Now, I'd like to know what you're beginning to hear from some of those, because some of these guys were, as you were saying, they were proponents for health Obamacare at one point. Are they still proponents?
Well, it's interesting. So, proponents probably the wrong word. They all say they're basically interested observers at this point because, of course, they have a financial interest in everything that goes on. I think that a lot of the CEOs of the health insurance companies would like to see the Obamacare exchanges work better. I think that at the end of the day, they wish that they wouldn't have to take taxpayers' money. But guess what? That's the law they helped create. And the administration, under President Obama and his leadership, and Kathleen Sebelius, who's now since resigned, they keep extending these kind of bailout provisions. And I don't hear the health insurance industry stand up and say, "Oh no, please don't stop. Please don't do that." So one thing that we're working on, right? Like I said, we got the big four health insurers.
Justin, I want to ask you a question at this point, just to clarify something that you were saying. Is there, are you saying here that the healthcare industry, they weren't necessarily proponents at the beginning, because they may end up being made whole at the end, being bailed out if it doesn't happen to work? But you were saying just right there that you were still thinking that they are hoping that the health insurance exchanges would work better. Are you saying that in fact the industry wanted a little bit of government, but not necessarily a lot of it? I mean, they didn't say no at the beginning, that's for sure, did they?
Well, yeah, that's the problem. The bill was written so that this option was always going to be available. I think that a lot of health insurance experts at the outset thought that they'd get a better pool of folks inside the risk corridors, so that the risk corridor provision wouldn't need to kick in. So inside the exchanges, there'd be a better mix. But what we're seeing is very, very, very sick people entering the exchanges, and that's going to lead to a death spiral, because then to pay for it, premiums have to go way up. And so that's what I mean by the administration recently changed the bailout provision to increase it. So they actually went to insurers, through regulation, and the LA Times reported this at the end of May, that they told insurers, if you keep your premiums down artificially, so they're messing with the market, if you keep them down and don't raise them quite so much, that you would need to, right? Because the market would dictate you've got all these sick people, you've got to raise your premiums in order to balance everything out. If you mess with the market, keep them artificially a little bit lower, we'll bump up the bailout from the taxpayers. So, the taxpayers don't get a say in this. This is the Obama administration saying, don't worry, the taxpayers will kick in a little more for you.
Justin, this is the same thing that we've been seeing across the board from artificially suppressed interest rates, from artificially manipulated markets that actually drive them. It's across the board. We've had a distortion of economic. The free enterprise system has been so distorted for the last number of years. I don't even think, in most cases, even those who are really watching it know exactly where we are on anything. That's what you're saying was exactly taking place here in our own industry. Beneficiaries, our companies, beneficiaries of a good free enterprise system, they're really part and parcel of messing the whole thing up.
Well, and like I mentioned a little bit earlier, though, yeah, they definitely are. And I think that one thing that's very important is we're starting this year because this is the year, the exchanges are going into effect. But like I said, this risk corridor provision, this taxpayer bailout, has a sunset inside the Obamacare law of 3 years. So we're getting them all on the record, and to a man, all 4 CEOs that we've spoken with said they are going to take the taxpayer money if it becomes available, and it almost certainly will through the risk corridor. But what we want is, at the end of the day, in 3 years, when this portion of the law sunsets and goes away, we don't want the insurance industry to continue to lobby for more taxpayer money, right? Because that's in the end, they know the writing's on the wall after 3 years. I can almost guarantee you their lobby group is already planning on how can we make sure we extend this another 3 years.
Well, Justin, you're exactly correct, because now you're going to have everybody so desperate across the country to get any kind of health care at all. And these guys, the only ones that have anything left of the system that we've known it to be, are going to be too big to fail.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
So it's we're not going to win the day tomorrow, but if we can up the pressure, like I said, bailouts are it's a nonpartisan issue. We don't need just the conservatives to talk about how bad bailouts are. We can liberals and independents don't like having their checkbooks ripped open to pay money to the health insurance industry when they're already paying more to their personal health insurer for their premiums, right? They're already paying more for their drugs. They're already paying more for their doctor's visits. So I think that we've got some time on this, but I think we got to kind of band together because, like I said, bailouts are an issue we can all get behind trying to stop.
Well, you know what? I mean, this is all coming. These are you're finding, as you're saying, folks are saying it's not working as well and all of that kind of thing. But I tell you, this thing you're talking about right now with the being made, the made whole provision, the taxpayer bailout at the end of the day for the guys who are actually involved in administering it and so forth. It takes them off the hook. They don't any longer have, if they're going to believe they're going to get the money. They're so what? I mean, this is really an incredible thing. So therefore, as we look, is there anything to believe? And I have to close up here in just about another minute. Is there any reason to believe that there's going to be any change by Congress in the law between now and 2 years from now, when the sunsetting occurs?
Well, I guess the only answer to that is probably not until this midterm election, but I guess we'll have to take a look at the composition of the Congress following the midterm election. And like I said, there are bipartisan issues that folks have had with Obamacare that have gotten a little bit of traction, and I think, post-midterm elections, we'll see what the composition of Congress looks like and see who's there to work with. But I think...
All right, and that's where we're going to leave it. We're going to keep talking about it and keep bringing it forward, and it does make a difference on who's elected, so that needs to be another matter for another discussion. But Justin Danhoff, General Counsel, National Center for Public Policy Research, tell our listeners where they should go to look more about this issue and others in which you're involved, please.
Absolutely. You can find us at nationalcenter.org. The National Center for Public Policy Research is on Facebook, and we're on Twitter at National Center.
Thank you so much, Dustin Danhoff. Thanks for being with us today. And Rick Trader, back to you. Rick Trader, back to you here today.
You know, first I have to remember how to turn on the microphone, Sam. It always works.
You know, the radio business is fast acting, Rick Trader.
Yeah. Sam, we've had a great show today. I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host, as usual, when on Tuesday afternoons. I also want to thank our guest, Amber Barno from the Independent Women's Forum, our good friend, J.D. Gordon, and our most recent guest, Justin Danoff. And once again, Sam, I'd like to remind our listeners that they can hear a rebroadcast of our show at 10:10 this evening at patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And in a few minutes at 5 o'clock when we end our live broadcast, if they'd like to hear a rebroadcast of yesterday's show, hosted by Kevin Wade and J.D. Manier, place for that is at cprworldwidemedia.com, cprworldwidemedia.com. Click on that Listen Live link. And you can also hear a rebroadcast of today's show at patriotsride.org, patriotsride.org. And you could hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. But for now, Sam Rohr, we got to run, we got to go. Take care, God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow on the radio.
Thank you for listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. Huge thanks to our co-hosts, contributors, patrons, callers, and our friends at WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460, where we broadcast live every Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 to 4 p.m. Central. Look for us on the internet at www.ccrshow.com. Until next time, we are the Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
This is 1360 AM. WNJC, Washington Township, Philadelphia. Philadelphia's Renaissance radio station. Brought to you from Forsyth Broadcasting. Or listen to us at WNJCradio.com.